I want to welcome you to the Pro Mindset Podcast. The Pro Mindset Podcast is all about diving into the headspace that results in championship performance. High-performing athletes, winners, have this mental flow and have a positive headspace for their performances and success. Join me, Craig Domann, sports attorney and NFL agent, on this podcast. I will interview pro athletes, college athletes, football coaches, and sports personalities. Together, we can discover how you can get in the flow and have your own pro mindset.
We have a very special guest today, a draft edition with Frisman Jackson, wide receiver coach for the Carolina Panthers. Frisman is a longtime client and friend, played in the NFL as a wide receiver in the early 2000s, has coached in college football and also coached with the Tennessee Titans a few years ago. And now he's on Matt Rule's staff with the Carolina Panthers. Frisman, we're going to get it going. Thank you for being on.
Oh, appreciate it, Craig. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so what's this week, Frizz? What's going on this week?
Oh, man, meetings, and getting ready for the draft. That's about it. Meetings with the players and then getting ready for the draft.
So how many draft picks do the Panthers have?
7, I think.
Seven? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm guessing that the owner, Tepper, and those guys are going to let you, make the call.
Yeah,
just in the first round.
Oh yeah. I'm making all the calls to the owner, to the commissioner. So,
Okay. So
I'll make all the big decisions.
So just for fun, who's the dude that you would take if you had the number one pick, and you were the owner, the GM, and the head coach? Who's the guy you think in this draft that 10 years from now we're going to go, that guy's special?
Oh, wow. Man. I mean, everything starts with the guy who's throwing the football. So, I mean, I would go with Burrow, man. After the phenomenal year that he had at LSU, man. And I had to start.
Come on, dude, Frizz, you played quarterback in college. You played receiver in college. If you had the receivers that he had at LSU, man, you'd been a first rounder.
Exactly. So that's why I'm taking him with the first round pick. I'm banking on that. I already got some receivers in my program already, or my organization that can make some plays for me. So, but no, man, he's just watching them on TV, just watching them from afar, and then studying LSU as we were in our season when I was at Baylor. The guy just makes plays, man. He can throw all the throws. He's, when chaos is going on around him, he's calm and cool and collective. And that's what you want as your trigger man. You want a guy that can handle all the pressure, and if he's nervous as hell, nobody knows. So, and he can rally the troops, which he showed he can do at LSU. So, if I had to pick, I would pick Joe. I'm talking like I know him.
No, I get it. You guys are boys.
Yeah.
You were at Baylor last year, the last couple of years, with Coach Rule, and you guys had a really nice run. Who's the guy in the Big 12 that you're the most impressed with coming into the draft, regardless of position? Who's the guy that you played against? You're like, man, you had a game plan with that guy.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say the kid I coached, but let me see.
No, it could be your guy too.
No, that'd be people would be laughing like, come on, this guy's being selfish. No, I would say the one guy, man, that we really game planned against, that we had to account for, was the Kenneth Murray, the linebacker out of Oklahoma.
Gotcha.
Man, he was just all over I would say, let me name a couple of guys. I would say Kenneth Murray, the linebacker out of Oklahoma. I would say Jordan Brooks, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. And I would say Jeff Gladney, the corner out of TCU. Those three guys were guys who we either talked a lot about as an offensive staff, or in the case of Jeff Gladney, a guy who I talked quite a bit about more than any corner that we went against. He was the one guy that I talked about, like, hey, man, when you're going up against this guy, you better bring your A game.
Okay, what does an A game mean for a receiver when he's going against a there's not very many lockdown corners anymore, but you're going against a true number one corner. What is, like, even with the Panthers, and you're talking to your guys, and you guys are getting ready for the 2020 season, and you go, hey, man, this is our first game under a new staff. We got to bring our A game. What does that mean?
You know what? For me, it means you understand that it's going to be a back-and-forth battle with this guy. So you bring your A game mentally, because you're not going to get frustrated if he wins a battle. From a physical standpoint, you know that every catch is probably going to be contested. You're going to have to battle your butt off at the line of scrimmage, especially if he's a corner that loves to press and be physical with you. He's going to be right on your back hip on routes and all that type of stuff. You're going to have to give him something at the top of routes. You're going to have something with your releases. You're going to have, understand, like I said earlier, that every catch is going to be contested. So that's what I mean by bringing your A game. And then the middle part of it, knowing that, he's going to make some plays, you're going to make some plays, and to not get discouraged when he makes some plays.
Got it. Okay, so about 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, you were with the Tennessee Titans. You were the wide receiver coach, and they were desperate for a wide receiver. And you had the privilege of breaking down the receivers in that draft class, and I believe you guys drafted Corey Davis. What pick did he get picked?
He was the fifth pick.
Fifth pick. So you picked a top 5 receiver. That doesn't happen every day. Walk me through the process, not necessarily who you like the best. Obviously, you guys like Corey the best, but what was your process to be able to vet out who's the real dude? Because you guys got the choice of the number 1 receiver in the whole class.
Yeah.
What was your process?
Yeah, so I watched a bunch of tape on all the guys who I felt were worthy of a top 5 pick. So it was Corey, it was Mike Williams, it was John Ross. Those 3 guys were kind of the top 3 guys. Zay Jones was another guy that was mentioned and it could possibly be a first-round pick. So, we actually had 2 first-round picks. We had the 5th pick, and I think we had the 17th or 18th pick or something like that. I forget. But I know we had 2 first-round picks. So I had to prepare for either I'm getting a top 5 pick or I'm getting a mid-first-round pick. So, it was 4 guys who I thought warranted first-round picks. First-round grades. And so I watched every game on every guy. I watched every one-on-one that I can get a hold of from practice. I watched every one-on-one that I can get a hold of from, the all-star games. And, I just tried to compare it's all a guess. So it's all you making an assumption, you're hoping. So I was able to watch all those guys, and Corey was the guy who stood out. And the rest of the guys weren't too far behind. I was in love with Mike Williams, too. I would say those 2 guys were the 2 top guys for me. And it was based upon how they performed in practice, how they performed in the games, how they performed in big critical games. Both of those guys played in BCS bowl games. So I was able to see them go up against big-time competition, and they both played well in those games. So I knew that they could handle the competition part of it. So those were the things that kind of went into it.
Gotcha. Let's talk about the receiver position. You're an offensive-minded guy. You have aspirations to coach quarterbacks, OC, head coach down the road. But as a receiver coach and in analyzing receivers, and you look at guys like Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, some of the best of the best, what's the difference between those, Hall of Fame type guys and the next group? What separates those guys?
Yeah, man. I'm watching this documentary on Michael Jordan.
Who's
the
that?
Last Dance, talking about the Bulls. And, and I'm a Chicago guy, so it means a lot to me. But one of the things that they keep talking about when they talk about Michael Jordan, everybody talks about the ability. He can score, he can dunk, he can do all those things. But the one thing that always keeps coming back when you talk about Michael Jordan, and it goes for Kobe and LeBron. I don't want to piss nobody off and not talk about LeBron and all those guys. But the one thing that keeps coming back when you talk about Mike is he's a fierce competitor. He's a competitor. He's competing against himself. He's competing against other guys. And that's what I think when you look at the Jerry Rices, the Larry Fitzgerald, who's been a good player in this league for a very long time, all the Hall of Fame receivers, Marvin Harrison and Terrell Owens and Randy Moss, all these guys, man, they were fierce competitors, man. They loved to compete. And they had an aura about them that they knew when they stepped on the field they were the best guys. And, yeah, they weren't the best at maybe running the routes or catching the football in their hands, but they loved to compete, and they knew when they walked on the field they had this sense about themselves that I'm the best player on the field. Not the best receiver, I'm the best player on the field. And so, that's the biggest thing in my opinion, just the attitude that those guys had and the competitiveness they all had when they walked out on that field. And when they were in the classroom, you hear stories about how competitive, Jerry Rice was on the practice field, how competitive he was in the classroom. Same thing with Larry. Same thing with all those guys. You hear those guys talk about how competitive they were. And, if you want to be in the upper echelon of receivers, you want people to talk about how competitive you are. And I think that goes a long way.
I heard a story that Joe Montana told about Jerry Rice, that when he was a rookie, every reception he had from the jump, he took it to the house. And so he was pissing everybody off because they had to wait for him to jog 80 yards back after he ran 80 yards and took it to the house.
Yeah.
And Montana, after a few days, said, hey, Jerry, you can't keep doing this. We can't get any practice done. And they said, hey, man, that's just what I do. And there was a game that Montana and Rice and those dudes were down like 21 at half. And Montana said, hey, let's do what we do in practice. And they had 3 receptions over like 65 yards, and they came back and won the game.
Oh,
and like the first touchdown of the second half was a slant to Jerry Rice, and he took it to the house just like he did in practice.
Yeah.
So I think practice habits are huge for players and competitors that have their fire burning hotter than everybody else. Also do it in practice.
Yep. I mean, that's what you hear about. I mean, when they talk about Jordan, they talked about how competitive he was in practice, how hard he practiced. You heard that, like you just mentioned the story about Jerry Rice. I mean, that's all you heard about Jerry Rice is how hard he practiced. Just all the receivers, man, you heard about. Now, every guy is a great practice player. Like, when it was time to go, they went. And so that's what you want. You want it when it's time to go, you want that guy to go. And, man, that's what some of them great ones are able to do.
Well, in the last 5 years, you've had the opportunity to be, in the NFL for 3, going on 3, and you've been in college 2. What is the biggest difference between the college game? Maybe you see it through the eyes of a receiver, but just big picture, what's the biggest difference between making it in college? You're on Scully. You don't have to worry about getting cut. You can hang out you can party and chase girls and do all and go to school and all the things those guys have to do. Then you get to the league, and somebody's going to get cut. But then everybody doesn't get to keep the job. What, from your perspective as a coach, being with these players day in, day out, you being a leader in your room, what is the difference?
The guys who understand that it can end for you just like this are the ones that make it. The guys who don't, they enjoy all the other stuff that comes along with playing in the NFL. They go home. Like you said, in college, you're on scholarship. The coach really can't get rid of you. But here, man, you competing against grown men who have mortgages, who have child support payments, who have kids, who may have be paying alimony, paying for, their whole family to eat and survive. That's what you're competing against. You're competing against a lot of the stuff that you don't see on the field. You're competing against the hunger and the desire that, a college kid knows, hey, man, I got sophomore year, I got junior year to figure it out, I got a senior year to figure it out. Well, when you get to the league, man, you got so many weeks to figure it out.
You got hours to figure it out.
Yeah, you got hours to figure it out. You can go home one day you're here, the next day you're gone. And if you're lucky to be a draft pick, especially an early one, you got 2 or 3 years to figure it out, and then if you ain't figured it out by then, you're gone. So, but I think the biggest thing is that in college, for sure you got 4 to 5 years. Unless you do something self-inflicted to ruin it. You got 4 to 5 years. In the league, man, it could end just like this. And like I said, the guys that figure it out, they last. They make the squad. The guys who don't, man, they go home more times than not.
Okay, so you played college football at 2 universities. You played quarterback, you played receiver, you were in the NFL for a handful of years. As a player, what experience as a player has helped you the most as a coach? Because not everybody that's in the NFL that's a coach smelled the NFL as a player.
Yeah. I would say 2 things. One, the first one is obviously I played receiver in the league. So when I'm coaching guys, whether they're in college or the pros, if they're in college, they all want to get to where I was. So I'm able to use that experience to kind of tell them, hey, this is the expectations. Here's how you got to go about your business. If you can do those things, you'll have an opportunity to go play in the NFL. The guys in the NFL, I think it gives me credibility with them because I played it, and I can say, hey, here's why we're doing this route. Here's why I'm using this technique. and it gives me credibility on that side of things. And also just having the opportunity to play quarterback, I'm able to see different things that just playing receiver doesn't allow you to see. So I'm teaching from a quarterback's perspective. I've never taught from a receiver's perspective. Even though I played receiver and played in the NFL at receiver, I've always taught from the quarterback's perspective. So I'm telling the guys, hey, here's what the quarterback is thinking. So when I sit in offensive staff meetings, I'm learning the offense as if I'm playing quarterback. And so I know that's how I'm going to teach my guys. And it's worked for me. I've had a lot of guys that went on to play in the NFL, that's been successful in the NFL. And so that's kind of the approach that I've taken. And I think that experience of playing both in the NFL and college at the position that a lot of guys, that these guys play, has given me credibility to be able to coach these guys, and it's given guys, an example of what hard work and dedication can do to give you an opportunity as a college kid to be able to play in the NFL.
Okay, so let's talk about the quarterback approach, the receiver approach. You seeing the playbook and seeing the play and coaching your receivers from a quarterback's perspective, give me one thing that's different.
Well, you said teaching it from the quarterback's perspective?
Yeah, what makes it different? Because there's most receiver coaches learn from receivers, not from quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So what's different?
I think I'm telling those guys, man, here's where the quarterback is going with the football. Here's why he's going here with the football. Here's what the quarterback is thinking when he's dropping back. All right. Here's why you can't do this with your route. Here's why you can't do that with your route. So I'm just giving them the mindset of what the quarterback's thinking is going on, what the quarterback's thought process is about. Whereas if I'm coaching receivers, I'm just speaking, hey, here's the release you want to work, here's the route you want to run, and here's the coverage you may get. I'm not talking, hey, here's why the quarterback is looking to the left before he's coming back to the right. Here's why the quarterback is not throwing you the football based upon this cover. Even though you may be open, here's why the quarterback is not throwing you the football. So I think it's not that big of a difference, but I think it gives the guys a different perspective when I speak from a quarterback's point of view.
Actually, I would argue that it is a big difference because, coaching myself at a much lower level than you, if the receivers understand what the quarterback's thinking, if the receivers understand where the quarterback's going, there's less frustration in the room. They get the big picture. They understand there's only one ball and there's 5 eligible receivers on any given pass play. And there's usually 3 to 4 receivers on every given pass play. And there's only one rock, and you're not going to get it all the time. And so to keep harmony, help them understand, hey, we got to move the chains to get in the end zone. You got to play your role. Sometimes you're going to catch the ball. Sometimes you're going to be a decoy. Sometimes you're going to be an option.
No doubt. I mean, and I say this to my guys when I'm coaching them up. Sometimes some guys go home with the good-looking girl. Some guys go home with the ugly girl. That's just, it's probably bad to say, all right, and there's no disrespect to anybody. I just try to put it into an easy perspective for them. Like, 2 guys go to a bar, all right? Two of us go to a bar, and there's 2 girls there.
I already know what's going to happen. You're going to get the pretty girl. I'm going to get the ugly girl.
Yeah, well, but sometimes, if, you might have to take one for the team. So you may have to run that outside release go route knowing you ain't getting the football just to open up for the guy underneath to catch the football.
Yep.
All right? You may have to run that post knowing you ain't getting it, but you running at full speed as if you're getting it just because you know it opens up a route for somebody else to catch the ball. And he's going to eventually have to do that same thing for you. So that's what I kind of talk to the guys about. Hey, man, everybody can't go home with the good-looking girl. Somebody got to go home with the ugly girl. Well, the ugly girl is that go route that you ain't getting the ball. The good-looking girl is the out route that you're getting the ball on based upon that coverage because that guy's outside releasing and running that guy off. So I try to make it, fun for the guys. I try to make it, relatable to the guys just so it ain't all this regimented, take your right foot here, take your left foot here. I try to speak in their terms. A lot of guys using all these big words, man, just to tell the kid to run a 12-yard curl route. And the kids spend more time analyzing than he does playing and playing fast, because he's trying to understand every little big word you use. And I'm not saying you can't use big words. People talk how they talk. But I think you don't make it so hard that the guys got to open up the thesaurus just to understand that you want them to run a 12-yard curl route. And so a lot of these guys use big words and all this stuff just to make themselves sound professional, when I can just tell the dude, hey, man, go run 12 yards, turn around, catch the damn football, and they'll get it done, while some other guy be like, all right, take your right foot, open your left hip, plant on your right toe, take your pinky toe, turn it that way, just to get the guy to run 12 yards and catch the football.
Well, that's why your receivers have done exceptionally well. And that's
I believe in the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Okay, Frisman, you were talking about mindset, get the receivers in the mindset of thinking how the quarterbacks think. Let's talk about the success mindset. The title of the podcast is Pro Mindset. It's about understanding how guys get in the flow, get in the zone, perform at a high level, make it to the league, and then excel in the league. When you go to the NFL Combine, when you go to the Senior Bowl and you're evaluating players, what are the things that the guys do that stands out? What are the things that if you were an agent, or if you were, let's say you were a college kid again and you know what you know now, and you had the opportunity to go to the Senior Bowl, go to the NFL Combine, what would you do? What would you tell your 22-year-old self to do?
Keep the main thing the main thing. I think that's part of the mental skills training, is just, increasing the propensity for flow. And what I mean by that is increasing my mental toughness. And that's just keeping the main thing, not letting negative thoughts come in my head, making sure I have high confidence, I'm motivated. That's my overall mood, is just confidence and motivation. And having that intense focus, man, on whatever I'm doing, not letting my mind drift to, all right, I got to run this fast 40 time, because if I don't, I won't get drafted. That to me, that's the big thing, man. Just make sure I'm keeping the main thing the main thing.
Is that a fair recommendation for guys once they get to training camp and they're rookies and they're trying to make the 53? Same thing, or is there?
Oh yeah, the same thing, man. You can't be. I think my rookie year, I didn't think this way my rookie year, and I started to think this way as I got older. My rookie year, man, I was just out there playing, man, just having fun and just running around and making plays, and I kept the main thing the main thing. When I got older and you start to understand, like, shit, it's a young dude on my ass, I started looking around like, all right, how many receivers are they going to take? Are they going to keep? I started counting. All right, he definitely make it. He definitely making it. And I stopped letting the main thing be the main thing. I started looking and letting the outside forces influence the way I played, the way I thought. I thought every drop, if I drop a pass, I'm like, oh, shoot, they going to cut me. If the coach wasn't talking to me or he yelling at me or something, I blew everything up. I made it way more serious than it had to be. So I would just tell the guys, man, number one, man, just keep the main thing the main thing, and just focus on being better every single day. Don't let the other stuff get to you. And it's hard to do. It's easy to say. But if they can do anything, that would be it.
Focus on football, focus on your job, focus on earning the trust of your coach, and make plays in practice, and give it everything you got, because you can recover, and not count your reps, look at the depth chart, see if the coach, trying to decide if your coach likes you or not.
Yeah.
That's one of the most useless exercises I know that players do. Well, I don't know if he likes me. Well, it doesn't matter. He's going to play the guys that perform.
He's going to play the guys that perform. Yeah. I mean,
right?
I'm a living testament of a guy who was, oh man, I wonder if coach still like me. Oh man, he ain't really been talking to me that much this week. Is he mad at me? Are they gonna cut me? The GM, he walked right past me when he usually talked to me. Are they about to cut me right now? I'm letting every little thing negatively affect my mind. It's like a disease. It just takes over my mind, and I'm starting to focus on that instead of focusing on running the route, catching the football, making the play, making the block. I'm not focusing on my job. I'm focusing on all the outside factors that really don't play a part in my job, but can affect my job.
Yeah, the way you just described is almost like somebody that's paranoid. I mean, they're like paranoid about everything. They're second-guessing everything. They're hyper-analyzing everything.
Yep.
And they're not focused on making plays. They're focused on the circumstances around the game instead of the game.
Yeah, and those things end up affecting you when they shouldn't.
As a coach, and this is maybe an unfair question, but who's one of the players that you've coached, and maybe he wasn't in your room, but he was on your team, that you really respected? Because what I see in the NFL is most players, not everybody's great, but most players have enough God-given ability that they're all great. They're way more athletic than most guys walking the streets. But it's the players that can play above their ability with their mental toughness, with their belief and passion and all those type of things that allows some players to perform better than everybody thought they would. Who are the couple guys that you've coached that have risen to that kind of level? Because very few guys do.
Yeah. I'll kind of go back and forth between the college guys and the pro guys. I didn't coach this guy, but I was around him quite a bit. I loved how his approach was Delaney Walker. He was the tight end for the Titans. I loved how he approached the game, man. This guy was a pro's pro. How he took care of his body, how he attacked meetings. He used to go out early all the time and get himself ready to go both mentally and physically for practice. I was impressed by how he went about his business. And I was like, damn, I wish I would have went at it like that when I was playing. Another guy, I played with this guy, Dennis Northcutt. Dennis Northcutt taught me how to be a pro. He taught me about the cold tub, about the hot tub, sauna, and we played the same position. And I was competing for him to take his job. But he was confident enough to take a young guy under his wing and kind of show him, hey, man, this how you become a pro. This is what you do to become a pro, and this is how you last in this league. Him taking me under his wing meant a lot to me as a player, as a young player. Guy I coached just went about his business is Jalen Hurd. I coached him at Baylor. Man, the guy worked, man. He didn't say much, but he went to work. He was in meetings. He freaking attacked the meetings. He practiced harder than any guy I ever coached the way he practiced. I mean, he'd be physically exhausted when practice was over. I mean, he was one of the hardest practice players that I ever been around as a player or a coach, and he was definitely the hardest player that I ever coached, hardest practice player I ever coached. But it'll be those three guys.
Okay. Everybody that goes to play college football, even D3 guys and NAIA guys, want to play in the league. And let's say you're back in college and you have a young man who comes in. Maybe he's a freshman, maybe he's going into a senior year. It doesn't matter. And you ask him, hey, what are your goals? And he says, I want to play in the NFL. What is going to be your response to help him understand what it takes to make it?
Well, first thing I tell him is everybody want to play in the NFL. I would hope he wants to play in the NFL. I want to coach guys that want to. If I was in college, and when I was in college, I wanted to coach guys who wanted to be NFL players, who wanted to play in the NFL. And it's a lot that go into developing yourself from a college guy to an NFL player. And what it requires is for you to understand that this profession is not a 9-to-5 profession. It's a put in extra work. It's an overtime. It's doing whatever you got to do to help in your development. One of the things I always told my guys was you have to be involved in your own success. I can't want to be more successful than you. Another coach can't. The head coach can't want to be more successful than you. You have to be involved in your own success. So what's being involved in your own success? Man, it's catching balls afterwards on a jug machine. It's, if I'm a receiver, it's doing those little things, all right, that separates you from the guy that's not the guy on your team, but the guy that's playing at, Ohio State. And so that, to me, that's the biggest thing, having the mindset to understand that, hey, man, yeah, I want to play in the NFL, but it requires me to do a little more than what I thought I was able to do, that I think requires me to do. I can't say, hey, I want to go play in the NFL, and then workouts are from 8 to noon, and then as soon as noon happens, I'm the first one off the field. I'm in my car, and I'm back home in my dorm room, and I say I want to play in the NFL. Nah, that ain't gonna happen. So it's got to be a willingness sacrifice to put in the extra work that it requires, that it demands, in order to give yourself a chance to play on Sundays.
1,000% agree with that.
One of the things,
Okay.
I'm going to tell you one more thing that kind of upsets me, and we did it, and it upset me at the time, was colleges, we push out these flyers around draft time that say, hey, with the first pick, the such and such team select, and it's whatever this high school recruit is. I can't put into words why I don't like when colleges do that, but I just don't like when colleges do it. I think it's minimizing how hard it is to play in the NFL. I think it minimizes the work that you have to put in. It's telling the already entitled kid that, hey man, you're gonna play in the NFL. I don't know, for whatever reason, man. I cringe when I see those Twitter things when they send out all these Twitter things about guys being drafted with the first pick. And I understand it's for recruiting, but I think it does a disservice to the work that guys put in to go play on Sundays to be draft picks.
I agree with that, and I would say that it misleads the player. And there's a lot of deception. It's not like vicious. It's just unintentional. But there's a lot of deception that happens at the college level because you've got to get these guys that are 17, 18 years old that are talking to head coaches they've been watching on TV, and everybody's telling them how great they are because they want them to come to their school. That deception kind of manifests and keeps growing, and then all of a sudden you get the wake-up call and you don't get invited to the combine. You get the wake-up call and you don't get drafted.
Yeah.
And then you've got to figure out, this is a JOB. And then I got to go in overtime mode, which is what you talked about. And that's why the NFL is not for everybody, because you can't keep them all. You start with 90, you end up with 53, 37 got to go home.
No.
It's the survival of the fittest.
No question. I just had to tell my daughter this because she was like, I want a trophy. And I said, you got to go earn a trophy. You don't just get a trophy. You got to go earn a trophy. But this is I always joke around with these young guys that, they grew up in the era where everybody gets something. Everybody makes the team. Everybody gets a trophy. Well, in the NFL, they don't give a damn. It's the old school method. Everybody don't make the team. People go home. Some really good players go home. And
no question. And guys that should have made it sometimes don't.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. And it's not supposed to be fair. It's supposed to be the best players.
Well, if you're a coach and you get to decide who you get to manage your roster, and you like a young man for what he brings to the table more than another young man, but he's not quite as talented. A lot of times, look at Bill Belichick. He takes the guy that he wants, not necessarily the guy that can jump the highest or run the fastest.
Yeah.
So
it becomes
there's
about everything. It lets you know that everything matters. Everything, not just your performance. Yeah, that's a huge part of it. But it's other intangibles too. Is how smart is the guy? Is he durable? Is the guy flexible? Can he play in multiple positions? The whole thing, the guys get past. They always like, oh, well, I led the team in catches in preseason. Well, you was playing one spot. You don't have any flexibility. You can't play but one spot. Well, we already got a star player that's playing that spot. So we don't need another guy that's going to sit on the bench. The other thing is, Frisman, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but sometimes that guy never misses a meeting. He's never late, but he's always the last guy in the meeting. Oh, no question.
He's the last dude before the head coach walks in and shuts the door. He's never missed one, never been late, but he's cutting it close every time.
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff gets noticed.
That stuff gets noticed. Everything is seen, man. Everything gets noticed.
It goes without saying there's a gap between college football. There's definitely a gap between high school and college, and there's another big gap between college and the pros. Certainly, it's a little bit different positionally, but just generally speaking, what is the gap between when you're coaching down in Baylor and you're playing in the Big 12 and you're playing Oklahoma and teams like that, and now you're playing with the big boys in the NFL? What's the gap? What's the thing that guys need to be ready for?
That everybody can play. Just because you were the best player on your team or the best player in college or the best player in the Big 12 or SEC or whatever it is, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to the NFL. That corner that went to Jackson State might be just as good a player as the guy that went to, the receiver that went to Oklahoma. He just didn't go to Oklahoma. He went to Jackson State instead. Maybe he had bad grades or he wanted to go to an HBCU. You never know. But, I mean, the talent gap is not as wide as it is from team to team in college. That's the huge difference. And your twos are just as, your twos are good where your twos in college, I mean, it's a considerable drop-off from the ones to the twos in college on a lot of teams, not all of them, but on a lot of teams. Whereas in the NFL, it's not. I mean, the second corner would be a number one corner maybe on another team in the NFL. He's definitely a number one corner in college.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would say is that in college, you get lucky sometimes as a senior or a third-year junior or a redshirt senior, whatever you might be, because sometimes you're playing against a freshman, redshirt freshman. You're playing against a guy that's a backup, and there's a big drop-off like you alluded to because the starter's hurt, and you can have a big game and look really good, but you're not playing against anybody that's ever going to smell the NFL.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. That's the truth right there. I mean, you watch a bunch of games, you looking like, man, this guy never going to play in it. He shouldn't even be out there. And this receiver or this D-line, DN is tearing this guy up. I mean, he's dominating this guy. That's why we look at a lot of, when we looking at film and I'm evaluating film, I'm watching, all right, who is he going up against? What team is he going up against? What kind of players they have? That stuff factors into it, especially in making a decision on players. You definitely looking at who he's playing against.
Candidly, like even in the Big 12, like how many corners in the Big 12 are going to be drafted in the first round this year?
Probably one, the kid from TCU. If any. I mean, he's either going to be a late first round pick or second round pick. He ain't getting past the second round. But I would say he's the only one.
So when you're a receiver in the Big 12, there's a lot of weeks where you're playing against guys who are never going to smell the NFL.
Never going to smell the NFL. Yep. No, it's not your fault. I always laugh when it's a double-edged sword for me because I always look at it like this. And I used to look at it like this when I watch high school tape and you evaluate high school film. The kid could be dominating some people. We'd be like, oh, man, look at the people he's going against. And I used to always say, but if he wasn't dominating them, we would be talking about him. So the kid really in a lose-lose situation. Because if I'm a receiver and I'm going up against a terrible corner, if I don't dominate him, I'm gonna get talked about. Oh man, he can't look how he's playing. This scrub destroyed him. But if I dominate him, oh look who he's playing. He destroyed. That guy can't play worth a damn. So it's like 6 and 1, a half a dozen another.
Yeah, can't win on those.
Can't win. So I look at it as, all right, let me see him play against the top team. Now, the top teams, like if you're playing against Oklahoma, they should have some of the best corners in the Big 12, just based upon them being Oklahoma and they recruiting.
They pay their players, Frisman. Come on, go ahead and say it. They pay their guys.
No, I'm not going to say that. On paper, they should have some of the best players across the board than any other team. They're always in the top 5 of recruiting and all that. They should have some of the best players. So you take that game versus Oklahoma with a lot more. You give it a lot more power than you would if I played against Kansas or if I played against.
Oh, you're killing me, Frisman. That's not the matter, man.
If I played against, let me see, another. Kansas is the worst team in the Big 12. So no, I'm joking. I'm completely joking. I'm completely joking. But no, and I think Les Miles gonna get that thing going. But if you're playing against some of the lesser teams in the Big 12, you're going to take that game with a grain of salt compared to how you would look at somebody versus Oklahoma. That's across the board with every position.
That's why the SEC, there's no doubt the SEC recruits better players.
Yeah.
But once the draft comes, you're going to see 6 guys from Alabama taken in the first round this year. It's because it's good versus good. You got the talent level so high that if they're dominating in the SEC, it's an easy pick for a GM or a head coach to go, I want this guy because they've seen him do it against another guy that's going to go in the first round.
Yep. Now, I'll say that for another podcast, my feelings on the SEC. I'll say that one for either another podcast or for me and your own private conversation.
Okay.
On my feelings of the SEC.
We'll leave it there. Okay, Frisman. So you're a young man that's got a lot of experience now coaching. You aspire to continue to grow and move up and have more responsibility and kind of run your own show down the road on the offensive side of the ball. And you've had those kind of opportunities in various places, and Coach Rule's been really good with you and giving you, an opportunity to dabble in some of that stuff. As a quarterback coach in today's NFL, if you can develop your quarterback and your offense as GM, it is the fastest and shortest path to become a head coach.
Yep.
But I'm going to give you the 33rd team in the NFL, and you're going to be the quarterback coach. And maybe even the OC, I'll make you the OC too. How would you approach it? What would you do? What have you learned? How do you see, what do you see that works? What do you see that doesn't work? And how do you maximize the performance of your guys? Let's stay strictly right now at the pro level.
Your system, guys, has to pick the guys you have. Your system can't be so high on your system that you ain't willing to change it and mold it to the guys you have on your roster. And so that's the biggest thing. Like, I understand that the quarterback position is the most important position in sports. In sports, to me, the quarterback position is the most important position. No other position dictates the success of a team more than that position. So I have to mold my system in a way that my quarterback can play his best football. So whatever my quarterback strengths are, I need to develop those strengths. Whatever his weaknesses are, I need to hide those weaknesses. And I need to do those in the confines of my system. And so, to me, that's the biggest thing, and that's the biggest challenge is not letting my ego get away and say, hey, well, my system, it's my system. It's my way or the highway. No, your system has to be able to change and maneuver to help develop your quarterback. And so that's what I would do. That's the biggest thing for me. Whatever skill set my quarterback has, my system is going to be predicated upon that.
Okay. So let's say, for example, you had an opportunity as the 33rd team to take one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the first round. You pick one of them, and you tell me how you would coach that quarterback to maximize his skill set in your system.
Oh, man. Well, earlier I said I would take Joe Burrow, so let's just talk about Joe Burrow.
You don't get the number 1 pick, dude.
Oh, I'm at 33rd?
He's off the board, so you got to get one of the other 3. I'm going to test you now, Frisman.
Oh, okay. I got to get one of the other guys?
Yeah, you only get one of the other 3. I don't care which one. You pick one.
Okay, I'm going to go Tua.
Okay.
All right.
He's SEC, right?
He's SEC. Just because I like him. I like the name. I know he's accurate. He can throw the football. He can make all the throws. But I would do whatever I can to protect him, knowing that he's had, some things happen to him in the course of his 3 years at Alabama. So my offense would be a lot of that. Would be a lot of 7-man protections, play action passes, boots, naked sprints, things like that where I don't just allow him to sit back in the pocket and let the rush get to him and knock the crap out of him. That's the biggest thing from a protection standpoint, because I think that's the most important thing. Then, as far as routes and schematics and all that, just taking advantage of what he does best. I mean, he can throw the football vertically down the field. So we're going to do a lot of vertical passing games. Deep end routes, comebacks, posts, curls, things like that, post corner routes, things of that nature that we can take advantage of his arm and how effectively he throws the ball down the field vertically.
Okay, so last time I noticed he was a lefty. What difference does that make in your offense, if anything?
Well, he's a lefty, but he's not redhead. So a guy told me a long time ago, never get a left-handed redhead.
What the heck does that mean?
I don't know. Some old coach told me that. That's always stuck with me for my whole since then. He said never. I think we were in college. Excuse me. I was in college at the time. The guy said, "Oh man, don't ever sign a redheaded lefty. They the worst." Now I don't know if that's true or not, but every time quarterbacks come up and it's a lefty, I'm like, "All right, is he redhead?" And they be like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, never sign a redheaded lefty." So, but Tua's definitely not redhead unless he dyes his hair red from here before the draft. But he's definitely not a redhead. But I don't think it matters if he is a lefty or not. I mean, Michael Vick, Steve Young, them some good lefties I could think of.
Okay. Well, Frisman, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. I want to wrap this up and just let you get back to your pre-draft meetings, hanging out with the fam with this coronavirus stuff going on. I want to wish you the best of luck this season with the Panthers. You guys have obviously made a lot of changes, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and, signing Teddy and letting Cam go and making sure McCaffrey's going to be a Panther for a long time. And I just want to wish you the best of luck and thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate you inviting me on and look forward to possibly getting on again.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pro Mindset. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. 5 stars, of course. You can follow us on our website, ProMindsetPodcast.com, or on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pro Mindset Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you the next time.
Leftovers or the DMV
Number 97
or house cleaning or Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.